There is no stealth in space. But we were not in space. The asteroid shell disguise was. But I'm getting off track. The Defied Research and Observation Station was orbiting a gray gas giant, the only other celestial body beside the red dwarf named Dr. 0S and Dr. 1G respectively. Publicly available information sources couldn't tell us more, so we had to come up with a way to somehow gather enough useful intelligence on patrol vessels, nav and sensor satellites, resupply schedules without getting caught. Trying to send an autonomous probe, even one with barely passable specs, would be impossible. Anything with good sensor range and speed was restricted to the military, and trying to get our hands on any of that would have led us to more trouble than the raid. Well, not really, but we had barely enough credits to afford our Monarch, and you can see its state for yourself. We somehow needed to get into the Defied system, gather enough useful information for the raid, and get out without being seen. That's the important part. So there we were, sitting around, scratching our heads and their respective equivalents, while the Monarch and its crew drifted through space. Our captain, a big, imposing insectoid, wasn't known for showing recognizable emotions, but even we could tell that she was severely displeased with her position. All we could do was wait and hope for her to barge into our living quarters while proudly bellowing out her solution to the problem, but that hope grew slimmer by the cycle. Until we hired a human, that is. See, we didn't just wait around for the heavens to part and give us a solution. We started going to different planets, stations, ships, and recruiting combat personnel for the upcoming mission. Although our captain didn't yet have a working plan, she was sure she would soon figure it out. We picked up some Marines, all of whom were experienced in ground and void combat. Then we hired new maintenance personnel so that our ship wouldn't fall apart. Last, but not in the slightest least, we hired a new comms officer, Ted Freeman, our human slavation. We didn't want to hire him at first. He was asking for more credits than our Marine leader, after all. But the captain relented. He went through the Galactic Federation School of Naval Communications. He wasn't a drunkard like our previous comms officer, and, in the captain's opinion, showed a lot of promise. Ted wasted no time acclimating to his sensor suite and soon proved to be a capable part of the crew, but the Monarch's corridors tell legend not about that. Ted, during one of our regular staff meetings, proposed a very interesting solution to our Defied problem. During his stay at the GFSONC, he came upon an interesting paper in the school's archive. It described the way that masses of hot objects impacted modern naval communications and sensing equipment. The research for the paper was conducted near the Defied system heat retention anomaly. Apparently, the Defied system had a sizable collection of asteroids that retained heat pretty well, sometimes mimicking the heat signature of combat ships. Ted didn't stop surprising us. He also provided our captain with a contact to Terran Ship Decor and Refurbishment, a Terran Republic company specializing in decorating ship hulls. So there we were, at the edge of the Defied system, sitting inside of a spaceship disguised as a particularly warm asteroid. We were watching the station for about 10 cycles now, although Ted kept calling them days and weeks. The captain decided that we've gathered enough information and sent the order to send out the boarding torpedoes. As the Marines began loading their combat robots, I managed to spot Ted looking solemnly at his datapad. "Worrying about the operation?" I asked. "No. It would be of no use," he answered. "It's in the Marines' hands now." Or grabbing appendages. Clear head. I expected nothing less. I quipped. "It's a learned skill. The Monarch, as does any spaceship, requires a rational mind from its crew members." He continued looking at the boarding torpedoes. The Marines were almost completely ready. Ted had one of those looks in his eyes which told me of a man hiding many things in his soul, of a man whose inner realm remained a mystery even to himself. "Why did you take this job?" "Why not? You could have made a perfectly clean career with you'd experience." "Why this?" "There's a man on that station that I want dead," he finally answered, too casually for my liking. "Who? How did he wrong you?" I understood the concept of revenge very well, but throwing away a prosperous naval career for a band of pirates was a preposterous idea of that I was sure. "That doesn't matter. What matters is that he has no chance of escaping this time. The calm, extroverted man sounded cold and distant, but I guess you have many other questions as well. I was always going with the flow, never staying too high or too low. The naval school was just another part of the flow. I had no real attachment to the uniform. I did it well, that was enough for my conscience. I had money, citizenship, all of that, but I just couldn't bring myself to value them. Sometimes I feel like all of this isn't real, but I'm going off track. I guess my soul is just more powerful than my mind," he concluded. I understood that I wasn't going to get anything more from him, so I left him to his devices. The raid went flawlessly. The Marines performed with minimal casualties. The patrol ships weren't fast enough to intercept us, and we made it out of the system unscathed. Ted disappeared on our first shore leave since the mission. In human movies, they would usually leave behind a dramatic note or a few clues, but not here. The cameras were clean. Ship security didn't see him leave. The only thing I'm certain of is that he's alive. I saw him appear on a CISEC wanted list, now operating with another group of pirates somewhere near the northern fringe. And here we are. So, the moral of the story is this: we don't understand humans, but we shouldn't really worry about that. After all, they don't entirely understand themselves.